Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Alright, so we have Alolan Ninetales with Weather Ball that just came out. So this is the Ice Weather Ball, and along with Kanto Ninetales, Alolan Ninetales actually got Ice Weather Ball. So for this video, I'm going to analyze both Powder Snow and Charm to see which one goes better with it, or if both variations do well. Now the reason why Weather Ball is such a great move is because it does a lot of damage and it doesn't require a lot of energy. And that's perfect with Alolan Ninetales, especially with the Powder Snow buff, or even with just its charm damage because you get stabbed with it. So, and stab is favorite type attack bonus. So because you're a fairy type, you get charm damage bonus, and because you're Ice Weather Ball, you get ice type damage bonus. So it's really good. The thing about Alolan Ninetales is that it's very similar to its Kanto counterpart, in that it has a high defense and very balanced attack and stamina. So it's very, very interesting. The thing about it is the carrying the ice and fairy archetype, you are weak to fire, poison, rock, and steel. Now, steel, you're actually double weak because steel is ice and fairy are both weak. Now, the good thing about this typing is that you do resist dragon types, so you resist dragon type damage, so like Dragon Breath. You resist bug type damage like X-Scissor from Beedrill, darks, of course, like Umbreon, and fellow ice types like Frostless. So it's a really good mon now, and it's probably seen it used quite a bit in Go Battle League if you've been battling, and you've seen it a lot with Powder Snow and with Charm as well. Alright, here's the PvPoke.com rankings. As you see here, I just put Ninetales to make it easy as far as like the search bar goes. Now, Alolan Ninetales does very well in all positions. As you see across the board, it's very, very good. That's because there's not really a lot of things that are poison, so the fairy typing isn't really like a super bad thing in Great League. Along with that, Powder Snow is just a really good... Powder Snow and Weather Ball are just two really good moves. And with all this coverage, as you see here, Lead Closer and Switch, you actually beat Skarmory. Yes, you can beat Skarmory with Powder Snow and Weather Ball. That's just how freaking powerful it is. You beat Toxicroak, you even beat Mud Boys like Wishcash. And, of course, a personal favorite of mine, you beat Shadow Victory Bell. Now, the issue with Ninetales is that there is also a slew of weaknesses. For example, you do lose to Azu, because Azu resists Powder Snow. You lose against G-Fizz because of those Rock Slides, Alolan Miracle will burn you to death, and Shadow and Deoxys defense and Hypno. Deoxys defense beats you just because, if it has Rock Slide, just because it can just beat you down and Rock Slide you down, because fighting does neutral damage, since you carry both the Ice and the Fairy typing. And Hypno. So, because it's not that, like, Alolan Ninetales has a decent amount of bulk, not a super high amount of bulk though, so just be careful. But either way, you still have a ton of pressure, and like I said, very good in all positions. So that's what makes it best in the lead. As you see, Alolan Ninetales in number 44, taking out Skarmory, Altaria, Shadow Victory. Oh my gosh, this is the best one. Shadow Victory, Wishcash. As a closer, Ninetales ranks at number 70, being able to take down Altaria, Toxicroak, Victory Bell, Wishcash, and even Abomasnow when it has no shields. As a switch, I would switch it into a positive matchup, but you could still use it as kind of like a switch. But I would just be careful because there's a lot of things in a closer that you have to watch out for. For example, I know there's a lot of popular things that keep Stunfisk in the back, and of course if you have Bastiodon, it's going to really suck. However, you still do beat things like Meganium, etc. So if you switch into a positive matchup, it's not a bad idea with Alolan Ninetales. Alright, as I always say, please consider joining PvPoke.com. So I have the Powder Snow Weather Ball variation here. I also have the Charm Weather Ball one. I don't recommend you go with any other moveset as far as like Side Shock and Weather Ball, because both of these moves have such great coverage that I don't recommend any other move. They also have very spammy, especially the Powder Snow variation, so that makes it really, really good. So, as you see here, I have the Great League meta, and we have the 2 shield. I'm in battle. And as you see here, Alolan Ninetales is surprisingly able to defeat Abomasnow with both variations. With the Charm variation, you can actually beat Azu in the 2 shield, which is still pretty good. So you see, there's merits to running both variants. Ninetales with 2 shield, especially with Weather Ball, is actually one of the fastest I think it is actually the fastest one to like actually be able to get charge moves off. As you see here, you have watch out for Bastiodon, but you beat out Chestnut. With the charm variation, you can beat Clefable, so you could actually outthink Clefable in the charm scenario. You do lose against Clefable in the 2-shield with Power Snow because it can charm you down, so be careful of that. With Charm, you beat Dugong, but you lose against it with Powder Snow because Powder Snow is double resisted with Dugong. So if you see it, just switch out. However, you are able to beat Cresselia and Deoxys with both of them. You could beat Diggersby with the Powder Snow variation. You could also beat Drifblim and Ferrothorn with Powder Snow. So it's crazy just how good Alolan Ninetales is in the 2-shield. And also, as you see here, with Powder Snow, with the Charm, you're also able to flip things. I would definitely, as you see here, you'll be able to beat Frostless, Galvantula, and Haunter with Charm. But you lose with Powder Snow. You beat both variations. You beat Hypno with both variations. However, you only beat Jellicent and Lapras with the Charm variation. You don't beat Water typings or double Water Ice Water hybrids just because it resists Powder Snow. That's just the issue. You beat Machamp with both of them. Mandibuzz, Mantine. However, both of you will lose to Alolan Marowak and with Melmetal. Rock Slide just hurts and it chunks, and Alolan Marowak doesn't really wall you, but it does resist Power Snow and it also resists Charm because of its fire typing. You take out Medicham with both variations as well as Meganium, Mew, Munchlax, Obstagoon, Raichu. Registeel has a huge matchup, has a huge advantage against you because of it could just straight Flash Cannon you, which is why it has a strong matchup. The Charm variation is able to take out Sableye, Scrafty. Both versions beat Shiftry. With Powder Snow, as you saw on the rankings, you could beat Skarmory. Both versions can beat regular Stunfisk, but you lose against G-Fist. So G-Fist has a strong match against you. With Charm, you beat Swampert. Without Charm, Powder Snow loses, unfortunately. Just because Hydro Cannon is so oppressive, and it does outpace you. Both versions will beat Toxicroak. And both versions can be Air/Tropius. If it's Razor Leaf Tropius, you will lose with the Charm variation, however, just because you will get shredded. You get shredded before you can Weather Ball off Tropius. Both versions will be Umbreon, especially the Charm variation. Powder Snow variation doesn't beat Venusaur. Now, here's the thing. Both of them don't beat Shadow Victory Bell. It's a close matchup in the 2-shield with the Powder Snow variation, but you still won't convincingly beat it just because Shadow Razor Leaf shreds, so just be careful. With Charm, you can beat Vigoroth, and both versions will beat Wishcash. And here's the thing. The thing about Alolan Ninetales is you can actually beat Wigglytuff. So with Wigglytuff, as you see here, Weather Ball, Weather Ball, Weather Ball. Weather Ball, Weather Ball, Weather Ball. Bink, bink. And then you actually outthink it by like... This is a very IV-dependent matchup, though. So very IV-dependent. But you could still beat Wigglytuff. And both versions will beat Dwylus because dragons don't like Charm or it doesn't like Power Snow. So in the 2-shield especially, I would definitely do your homework. Like, do your homework and look. Because as you see here, there is a lot of matchups and very important meta matchups that either version flips. So depending on which version you would like to use, neither one's wrong. Each one has its strength and each one has weaknesses, but both are very strong. In the 1-shield, here you go in 1-shield, things get interesting. Now, both versions will now lose against Azu or Bastiodon. Both of them will still beat Abomasnow and Altaria. With Cresselia, you can beat it with Charm. Without it, you do not, unfortunately. And Deoxys' defense with Rock Slide is very, very impressive. If it doesn't have Rock Slide, I believe you can take it. So, as you see here, Rock Slide is what really threatens. Take out Rock Slide, give it Psycho Boost, and then as you see here, A9 has it. So, as long as it's not carrying Rock Slide, you're pretty comfortable. As far as the Powder Snow one, you're pretty comfortable in every scenario except the closer. It's different for the Charm one because unfortunately, without the Charm one, let's see if it changes. So let's give it Psycho Boost, Run Battle. So A9 can win. As you see here, A9 can win. So it's basically the same scenario as Powder Snow. You win the 2s and the 1s, but you lose the 0s against Deoxys defense. So the 1-shield, as long as you're not, if you can figure out, if it doesn't throw Rock Slide at you, then you're pretty safe. So just keep that in mind. Still very risky to be against because Rock Slide will hurt a lot if it does land. With Charm, you beat Dugong. With Powder Snow, you do not. As I mentioned before, you beat Drifblim. With Powder Snow, it's IV dependent with the Charm variation. Well, yeah, Charm. This is very situational. Unless you're rocking Powder Snow, then Powder Snow for sure you'll beat Drifblim. You lose against Ferrothorn in the 2-shield now, so you'll lose in the 1-shield versus the 2-shield because Power Whip chunks. You can beat Frostless in the 1s. You also beat Galvantula with Charm. You beat Haunter with Powder Snow. Now, Hypno, if Hypno will beat you, both versions of Hypno can beat you. You can beat both versions of Jellicent in the ones. And you beat Lapras only if you have the Charm. So you see, Charm's very specific. Very specific matchups you beat and you don't beat. You beat Machamp, Mandibuzz with both versions. Still gonna lose against Alolan Marowak. This is probably your worst nightmare to encounter if you do fight. It's definitely Alolan Marowak. And Melmetal. Now you'll beat Medicham if you have Charm. If you don't, you don't. You'll beat Meganium if you have Power Snow. If you don't have, you don't. So a lot of things flip around like you see. So definitely take a look at it. You'll beat a lot of Dark types, of course. Well, you'll beat Scrafty because it's a Dark type. And same thing with Sableye because Charm. You'll beat Munchlax and Alolan Raichu as well if you have the Charm variation. If you do not, then you lose. If you only have Power Snow, you lose all these other matchups. So just keep in mind, like I said, both versions are viable. Both versions flip metas. So, I mean flip matchups. So just keep in mind which one you do. You still beat Shifter with both one. You beat Skarmory in the 2s and the 1 shield. That's a pretty good matchup because Skarmory is very relevant. You also beat Stunfisk. You don't win against Galarian Stunfisk, unfortunately. And you still lose against Swampert just because it outpaces you. In other words, but Powder Snow beats both versions of Tropius, Toxicroak, Venusaur, Shadow, Victory Bell. So in the 1s you'll beat Shadow, Victory Bell, and the 2s you do not. Vigoroth, Witchcatch, Wigglytuff, and Zweilous. So this is where, in the 1 shield is where you can beat Wigglytuff comfortably. With Charm, you lose against Venusaur, Shadow, Victory Bell, and Vigoroth, just because these are poison types, so they will resist Charm. And for Vigoroth's body slams Chunk, so that's why. So, very strong. Like I said, both are very strong against the Great League meta, but they flip certain matchups, depending on which moves, whether you have Charm or Power Snow. Both are still very, very good. Alright, that's the 1 shield. Let's look at the zeros. So, with the zeros... So, the zeros you could beat Azu if you have Charm. You could also beat Dugong if you have Charm, but Powder Snow doesn't let you beat Azu. It also doesn't let you beat Dugong. It does let you beat Diggersby. Diggersby, I'd say, isn't too much of a threat because it's hard to get a level 50 Diggersby. So you won't see him around much. So I wouldn't bank on this seeing a lot of Diggersbys. You do beat Haunter, which is a pretty relevant one. I don't see a lot of Haunters nowadays, but being able to beat Haunter zeros is pretty good. Especially because of how... Because if it gets Sludge Bomb, you're going to die, but it looks like you're able to beat Haunter. I think you can Weather... Does it go down to 1 Weather Ball? Oh, Psyshock, that's right. You have Psyshock. So Psyshock will actually wipe an entire Haunter in 1 shot. So definitely Psyshock it down. You could take out Hypno, Jellicent, and Lapras if you have Charm in the zeros. You can take out Machamp, Mandibuzz, Mantine, you beat it with both. Medicham, you beat... But you don't beat what... So it looks like in a closer, Charm, like, you beat both... You beat some things, like Meganium, you'll beat both, but, like, Charm has better matchups in a closer. You can beat Obstagoon with Charm. You also beat Sableye, Scrafty, and Shiftry with it. Unfortunately, you lose against literally a slew of all these Dark Bonds if you do not have Charm. That doesn't mean Powder Snow isn't good. It's just that just means watch out for the zeros, because zeros can be dangerous. However, the zeros, you can beat Toxicroak. You could still beat both versions of Tropius. You also beat Shadow Victor Bell in the closer. So it's really good. So you're able to beat Shadow Victor Bell in multiple scenarios. You do against Vigoroth, but you beat Wishcash and Wigglytuff. You beat Wishcash, Wigglytuff, and Zweilous. So you beat Wigglytuff convincingly in the closer, which is really good. With Shield Advantage, I can imagine like Weather Ball. Wow, with Shield Advantage, you flip various matchups depending on which one, but you beat a majority of the meta in the 1 to 0s. As you see, the Power Snow variation is very, very powerful. Even you're able to even beat G-Fisk as long as you're in the 1 to 0s against the Alolan Ninetales. If it doesn't have enough energy to yeah, you could beat in the 1 to 0s. As long as it doesn't have, like, energy lead. So, as you see here, you beat a lot of the meta in the 1 to 0s. Majority of it. Now, there's some specific matchups, like Dugong, for example, just because you still get double resisted with Powder Snow and Weather Ball. But you beat it with Charm. So, Charm beats a lot of things. So, this is why Charmtails is so freaking good. It's because with Weather Ball, it's able to do a lot of damage. So, in the 2 to 0s, I'm pretty sure it, like, wrecks a lot of things, except by Bastion. Yeah, so in the 2 to 0s, you beat everything but Registeel and Bastiodon with both variations. That's really, really good. So basically, you even beat G-Fisk in the 2 to 0s. So that's just nuts. So, yeah, you beat G-Fisk in the 2 to 0. Yeah, as long as in the 2 to 0s, you can beat G-Fisk. With Shield Advantage, things get a little dicey, but you can still beat things like Relevance, like G-Fisk. You still beat a lot of the meta. So, basically, it's the 2 to 0s the same as the 2 to 1s is basically the same 2 to 0s, with the exception of if you have Powder Snow, you'll drop the Dugong matchup. You lose against Alolan Marowak as well. G-Fisk if you have Charm, and Shadow Victory Bell if you don't have Powder Snow. So just a few matchups here and there, but still being a majority of the meta in the 2 shield, just having shield advantage is really, really good. So both variations have merit depending on how you play your team and how you want to cover, but it's just Powder, like, it's still, either variation is great if you really want to use it. Alolan Ninetales really got an upgrade with Weather Ball. Alright, Alolan Ninetales, a definite 9 out of 10. So it's not like meta breaking, that's why I can't give it a 10 out of 10. Also, things like Bastiodon and Registeel still technically end your life, so Bastion's a pretty popular pick. You get locked in with A9, it's a pretty much an auto loss. As you see here, the reason why it has such a high rating though is you've probably seen Alolan Ninetales with Powder Snow, Ice Beam, not Powder Snow, Weather Ball running around. That's because it's just that good. With all of this coverage, you can even run Charm. That duality where you have so much great coverage and Weather Ball makes Alolan Ninetales like the fastest charmer in the game to get to its move, because it takes you 6 charms, I believe, to get to a Weather Ball. That's freaking nuts. So, as you see here, this is even further justification. So this is with Ice Beam when you didn't have Weather Ball before. 56%. As you see here, 56. What happens when you give it Weather Ball? Watch the upgrade in the 2 shield. 70.9%. With Weather Ball, you have an out versus G-Fisk. You could beat G-Fisk in the 2-1s or with shield advantage. The fact that you have a coverage against something that was super oppressive before is really, really good. And because of this, Alolan Ninetales has now been the forefront of double charge teams because of its ability to spam Weather Ball Ice. It does a lot of damage. So you almost have to shield it, especially if it's a negative matchup, or if it's something that you like, even if it's thick, like it's still gonna do a decent chunk of damage. So A9, it's a massive upgrade. It's kind of broken in my opinion because Powder Snow got buffed too. So Powder Snow plus Weather Ball equals death. So it's just, and you have so much versatility. A9 is now top tier meta. Yes, it ranks at number 44, but the reason you've probably seen it in so many teams nowadays is because it's just that good. It's super powerful, lots of coverage, and lots of speed with Weather Ball and with Powder Snow. If you want to use it, it's not a bad idea. A lot of team variations use it. It's really great in all positions. It's a beast. Guys, like this video, please like and subscribe. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.